You're listening to The Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast, episode 7.
We raised $3.7 million in less than 24 hours, so it's definitely a lot easier now than it was.
Welcome to The Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast with Jacob Ayers, providing actionable content to help you along your journey to financial freedom through real estate investing. As the premier asset class, real estate has helped ordinary people just like you amass fortunes. The benefits of passive income from real estate investing will allow you to live a life you want. And now your host, entrepreneur, real estate investor, and apartment deal syndicator, Jacob Ayers.
Hi, and welcome to the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Ayers. Today we're going to be interviewing Dave Zook. Dave is a successful business owner and experienced real estate investor active in the multifamily space and resort community development. He has real estate holdings in several states and several countries. Dave has purchased over $60 million worth of real estate since 2009 and has over 2,300 multifamily apartments in his portfolio. Dave, along with his development partners, is actively involved in the early stage planning and development of the largest real estate development in the Island of Ambergris Caye, Belize. Ambergris Caye is a beautiful place, and if you've never been down there, Dave gives you a brilliant reason to be there and exploring the local culture and touring that property. Dave is a published author and has been a guest speaker at the International Business Conference, the Jason Hartman Real Estate Mastermind, and on the Real Estate Guys radio show. Dave, with his wife Susan and their 4 children, live in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Today I welcome on the show Dave.
Thanks for having me on, Jacob.
Dave, how are you today?
I'm doing very well.
Fantastic. Great to hear. So Dave, we understand you're working on some exciting deals right now. Could you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and what you have going on right now?
Yeah, right now we've got a few things, actually. We've got, this is a busy month for us. We're closing on about 460 units, 2 different projects this month, and that's apartment units. And we're also finishing out the last few lots in the Hilton side of the resort at Mahogany Bay Village. And we're also very active in the ATM space. I got a portfolio of ATM machines that we rolled out to our investors, and that's been just a really popular asset class. Just high cash flow and high depreciation gives you a lot of tax-free income.
Well, Dave, that's certainly unique. Can you tell us how one goes from multifamily investing to investing in ATM machines?
You know, the interesting part is the same kind of demographic of folks that live in our multifamily buildings also are heavy users of the ATM machines. And so it's been kind of that same group of people that's been, that are heavy users of that space. And, it was just in running into the right folks. I love doing business with really good people, and I knew these guys, and I knew they were really good at what they were doing. So I actually started investing with these guys in 2012, myself personally. Invested with them a couple times, and they approached me about sending it out to my investors, and I did, and it turned out to be really well received, and it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. It sounds like a great way to diversify your portfolio, and more importantly, it produces cash flow, so great. So Dave, can you talk about what drew you to real estate investing in the first place and how you got started?
Yeah, a couple things. One is I needed a tax protection vehicle. I had a couple businesses. One was a sales and marketing company, and there was no real depreciation there at all that I could use to offset my tax liability. I didn't need trucks and forklifts and heavy equipment or any of that. We strictly are a sales and marketing company. And so got to the point where I'm paying a couple $100,000 a year in tax. Our businesses were doing really well, and got to the point where I just got tired of paying all the tax, and through a lot of education, reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, getting around Tom Wheelwright, which is Robert Kiyosaki's CPA, started educating myself and realized that multifamily could really help in that respect. And I could shield a lot of my income and quit paying so much tax.
Yes.
And there was also other benefits. I mean, there was our business, our manufacturing business is somewhat seasonal. So in January, February, and March is kind of our slow time, and I knew that, if we get set up right in the multifamily space, those tenants pay rent in January, February, and March. So it was kind of a diversification play as well, and to just kind of smooth things out in the wintertime for us.
That's great, Dave. For the listeners that don't know, can you talk about the tax advantages of real estate and touch on depreciation of the ATMs?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. I'll touch on both. So when you invest in ATM machines, you're buying brand new equipment. You can depreciate that equipment over 5 years. So what that means is 70 to 80% of your cash flow that comes from that machine in the first 5 years is tax-free. So the same way with multifamily, if you use a little bit of strategy in your tax planning, that income coming from that multifamily building should be tax-free. So we really like to invest for cash flow, but we also like to keep the cash that we make. So, not only are we really into cash flow investing, but we don't like to give half our money back to the government. We like to keep the cash flow that we make, and depreciation allows us to do that.
Right. And therein lies the power of real estate investing, which is depreciation.
Absolutely.
So can you talk about the projects you've got going on and share the details of how you decided to invest internationally?
For me, it's all about getting around the right people. It's much more important for me to pick the right teams than it is to pick the right asset. So for me, I first got involved in multifamily space, and I actually went on a field trip with the real estate guys, Robert and Russ.
Right.
Went on a 3-day field trip to Memphis, and they connected me with a really good broker down there who connected me with my now partner, and we went on to do a couple thousand units together, apartment units together in Memphis. So it was soon after that soon after I got involved in Memphis, we were having all kinds of fun down there. The real estate guys, Robert and Russ, invited me down to Belize, and we had done some business together, and I really liked those guys, and I really liked what I was seeing, and it seemed like there was this pattern of, if they would introduce me to somebody, they just turned out to be really good folks. And so when they invited me to Belize, I was like, well, if you guys are going, I want to at least see what you're up to. So I was looking for an international option at the time. Took a couple of trips, went to the Cayman Islands and some of those places just to kind of see what else was out there. But when I was able to team up with Robert and Russ and Beth, I was able to get very active and involved in our resort development down in Mahogany Bay Village. And it was just, to me, it was more about the team. I just wanted to make sure that I was connected to a really good team that could get things done.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I always say your team is more important than the property itself.
Absolutely.
So can you tell us about one of your great deals and then one of your not so great deals so we can learn from your mistakes and then share your successes?
Yeah, so early on, I got involved in the Memphis market with another guy. And he was going to be my partner down there, and he was going to be the guy that, teaches me about syndication and kind of shows me around. And I really wanted to team up with him to really learn about, raising capital and doing multifamily deals. And, you mentioned about the team being the most important, much more important than the real estate, and I totally agree with that. Ended up, we did a deal, and while I did learn a lot of things, it wasn't exactly what I was thinking I wanted to learn. And we ended up losing a couple $100,000 on my very first deal down there. Luckily, I didn't just pack my bags and go home. I started over and ended up doing a deal with my now partner, and we've done a lot of business together since then. So, so that would have been my worst deal. My best deal, man, there's quite a few down there that I really am proud of, but the one is It's a property. It's a 286 unit property called Champagne Place. That one we bought. We bought that one in, I think, 14. And, it's just been a real cash cow. It's been a real, it's just been a really good property all the way around. It's, from day one, we've been delivering double-digit cash flow to the investors. And, no, it's just a really good property. I mean, even with only a 15-year amortization schedule, it's still delivering a double-digit cash flow. So I'd like to own a bunch more properties like that.
Yeah, great. So Dave, you've been putting together deals for several years now. Can you talk about the process of putting together a deal and what that looks like?
Yeah, so basically what we do is we create an entity. We find the deal. Well, actually, first we find the deal. We find a property that we'd like to buy. We do all the due diligence. Once we know that we definitely want the property, I'll create an entity, and once we have everything set up, I'll go out and talk to investors and show them the deal. I build a story around the property and just show investors what it is. I'm always invested in the deal right alongside of my investors. So I'll go out and talk to some folks, and at first it was a lot harder. I'd have to go out and talk to new people and really go out and knock on some doors. And most of the people were people that I sort of knew through business or my community or whatever. But it's a lot easier now. I mean, we just funded a deal last week. It's 373 unit apartment building. I sent out an email about it. It had a story around it, and I told in the email I told the investors all about the property, and we raised $3.7 million in less than 24 hours. So it's definitely a lot easier now than it was. But yeah, finding the property, putting the entity together, going out and talking to investors, and then myself and 15, 20, depending on the size of the deal, 15 or 20 investors go together and buy it together.
Yeah, right. Thanks for that, Dave. So that expands on building your team. Could you talk about how you've built your team? As we know, your team has a lot of bearing on your success as an investor.
Yeah, it does. I guess first, here's the thing. When you meet really good people, most likely their network is full of really good people. So you don't have to go into a market and find, 3, 4, 5, 10 different really, really good people in any city. If you can just find one or two and then tap into their network, that's sort of what happened for me. I went down to the Memphis market and met up with Steve Woodyard, our broker, and he is the one that introduced me to my now partner. And through that, we got a really good real estate attorney, and we got some good, we got some good lenders, and so it's really about finding that one or two, those one or two key people, and then tapping into their network.
Right, great. And that all starts with your mentors, in your case, Robert and Russ.
Yes.
So Dave, you're doing all these deals and you're having a lot of success. Investing in Belize, I'm sure, is an experience in itself. At the end of the day, why are you doing all this? And what are your reasons why?
Well, it's this business fits my personality really well. I love people and I love doing deals. I'm an investor at heart. I've been an investor for as long as I can remember, and so it really just fits my personality and really is what I want to do. As long as I can feel like I'm creating value to my investors, and as long as I'm having fun, I'll keep on doing it. It's just for me, it's been a lot of fun to add value to people in my community, give them access to deals that they otherwise wouldn't have access to. I mean, one of the reasons I even got into this business was I heard some very wealthy businessmen in a group conversation talking about investment opportunities, and they were discussing investment opportunities, and they were basing their investment decisions off of what they could get from a CD, which was to me that was just an eye opener. And it was when I first really got to realize that somebody needs to be doing what I'm doing. And so to be able to add value to folks in my community and give them access to really good cash flow and deals, that's been just a lot of fun.
Wow, Dave. To hear that people are comparing investment opportunities to the returns on a CD is just hard to believe. It's great that you're providing opportunities in an asset class that can really truly build wealth and produce cash flow. And I know you get a lot of fulfillment by doing this for others, so that's great. Okay, Dave, so wrapping up here, we're going to jump into the lightning round. We have a series of questions that we'll fire at you and you just shoot from the hip. So what was your biggest hurdle getting started in real estate investing, and how did you overcome it?
For the most part, it was, I really didn't have much experience. I was a business guy. I had invested in a lot of businesses I'd invested in a lot of businesses over the years, coming out of my late teens. And so I wasn't known in my community as a real estate guy. So when I started doing this on my own, I started investing in multifamily on my own. Transitioning into becoming a syndicator was a little tough, and it was probably more psychologically than anything. It was what was going on in my head. But just to be able to kind of learn that really fast, learn the real estate space really fast, it was a challenge, but it made it a lot easier because I had really good partners. So I was able to kind of overcome the, hiccups or making a lot of mistakes that I most likely would have made had I not had really good partners. And so I would say I had good people on my team, and I was able to overcome the hurdles that I would have faced had it not been for that.
Great. Okay, if you were starting over with no education or capital, how would you get started in real estate investing?
Get around the right people. Build your team, get around the right people, and just leverage other people's talents and gifts, and just make sure you got the right people on your team. That'll shortcut that'll give you just a tremendous shortcut.
Fantastic. Can you share a personal habit that contributes to your success?
I guess I would say discipline. Having the discipline to not chase the shiny objects, having the discipline to stay really focused on the asset classes that I'm in and the teams that I'm with. I don't jump around a lot and experiment with a bunch of new teams. I really invest with 3 or 4 teams, and that's pretty much it. So having the discipline to stay focused, because as you get around the investing space, there's a lot of opportunities that come your way that, sometimes you have to say no to the good to say good to the, sometimes you have to say no to the good to be able to say yes to the great. And so just having the discipline, and then intentionally trying to surround myself with good people, being very focused and being very intentional about, going to events where there's really good folks in the group, and trying to network with those folks.
Right, okay. Having that discipline to not chase every opportunity that you come across can be difficult. It's easier said than done, and it takes constant attention. Do you have a favorite resource that you like that you would share with the listeners?
There's a ton of good podcasts out there, and I listen to a lot of them. The Real Estate Guys have a really good one. Get Rich Education is a really good one. The Wealth Formula podcast is a really good one. There's just a lot of really good free resources out there. So I would say, podcasts, really good content, interviews with really good people. There's all kinds of stuff out there that you can. Let me see here. There's all kinds of stuff out there that you can get for free. That's really helpful.
Yeah, in fact, I became inspired to start my investing career through podcasts. What book would you recommend to the listeners, and why?
I would say Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's a book that, next to the Bible, it's probably the one that I know of that changed the most people's lives. And so I always recommend that one. Interesting, I just got to spend the last week with Robert Kiyosaki himself and celebrated his 20th anniversary with him.
Right.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad's a really good one.
Great. Rich Dad, Poor Dad's a fantastic book that's had an impact on many people. It's a book that I like to give out. We'll put a link to that book in the show notes. If you were to give advice to your 20-year-old self to get started in real estate investing, what would it be?
It's going to sound like a broken record, but I would say find the best people you can find and do business with them. Surround yourself with really good people.
Okay, Dave, I appreciate having you on the show today. Is there anything you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Fantastic. Okay, Dave. Well, I appreciate having you on the show today. Is there anything that you would like to leave with us, or any last final words?
I enjoyed our chat, and I hope I added value to your listeners. I am available to you, so if you or your listeners have questions, or tax questions, or multifamily real estate questions, or any of the other asset classes, we're available. Our website is therealassetinvestor.com, and you can reach out to us at info@therealassetinvestor.com. So be happy to help. I am available, like I said, and always looking to add value to other investors in the different communities.
Okay, great. We'll put that information in the show notes. We appreciate having you on the show today, Dave. Thank you and have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Jacob.
All right, that wraps up our episode today with Dave Zook. Dave is a great guy, and he's really involved in some interesting deals. From his developments internationally to his ATMs, he really brings a unique perspective to investing, so I'm really glad we got to learn from him today. I hope you're receiving value from this show. If you like what you've heard so far, I invite you to let me know by leaving a rating and review. Please subscribe to the show to be notified of future episodes. As always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to contact me at www.jacobayers.com or email me at info@jacobayers.com. Until next time, signing off, I'm your host, Jacob Ayers.
You've been listening to the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast, providing you actionable content to build your real estate empire. Nothing on this show should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for personal advice. The opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have a potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom, LLC, exclusively.